and attending our Fireside Chat. This is in collaboration with Women in Experience STEM and Chick Tech, our nonprofit organization partner that we actually absolutely love and continue to support for the last 2 years. Just like I said, as a reminder, this is a session attended by both internal and external. So for the Experian attendees, please refrain from posting or asking about Experian proprietary information. I really absolutely want to thank the STEM community leaders, Laura, Marizette, Anshel, Irene, and Christine. They make this so easy for us. Also, I want to promote Experian University, which is the next phase of our career hub, where with a click of a button, you can easily access learning. It's made up of academies that focus on different topics, offering us personalized learning pathways. So there's something for everyone. Just as a housekeeping, stay engaged, emails, and switch up notification. Make your contribution using the chat, which we will have the Q&A in the chat after the fireside chat with BJ. Please share your feedback via our survey, and we'll provide more information about that survey later. Unfortunately, I know we have two speakers. Unfortunately, Sri Santanam is not able to join today due to family emergency. But without further ado, I want to introduce you. Probably most of you are very familiar of him already. A very awesome colleague, Vijay Mehta. He's our general manager of the solutions group within Experian Software Solution. Vijay's team's focus is to provide new product incubation, solution consulting, advanced data science, which I've worked with his great team on that as well, third-party partnerships, and go-to-market scale of new global products. His team is also closely collaborating with experienced customers to innovate and drive new market-changing developments. Prior to ESS, Vijay and I were together at Consumer Information Services. Vijay was the former CTO, and he managed product and technology teams. He also was really big in the industry already in tech, prior leadership at Sallie Mae. CIT Group, and he was chief architect of a SaaS startup company that was eventually acquired by Experian. So Vijay, welcome and thank you so much for doing this with us. Before I start the questions, I do have one icebreaker, which is very relative to this topic. So as you all know, where this topic is about GenAI. So while mobile phones took 16 years to reach to 100 million users, and the internet is up to 7 years when it actually reached 100 million, and Facebook another for 4.5 years. And if you could pose your question, I'll give it a few seconds. How long do you think ChatGPT reached up to 100 million compared to those other technologies? So I'll pause here for a second. If you can post in the chat your guess. Seen some? 2 years, 6 months, 7 months. Okay, well, we have enough questions. So some got really close. Some says it wasn't too long. Well, it wasn't. It took 2 months. Merely 2 months compared to those other platforms. ChatGPT reached 100 million after 2 months. So VJ, welcome. I want to say a few words before I start firing away questions.
Well, Marie, thank you so much. And thank you to the Women in Experian and to Chick Tech for the opportunity to speak to all of you. I think this is such an exciting topic. And you know, the truth is there's a lot of misinformation out there on the topics. And I'm hoping in today's session that we can debunk some of the myths and also educate. So thanks again. I'm really excited about today.
That's great. Thank you. And okay, so first question, BJ, and of course, this is more a conversation with you and I here. And how in your career, especially now, how did you integrate Gen AI into your daily workflow, and what are the immediate benefits have you noticed?
There are so many benefits, and I think it does depend a bit on your role. And Maria, I'm going to throw this question back at you because I know in engineering there's so many benefits. But for me, as as a leader of people, I think there is a lot of productivity that can be had. So generation of reports, enhance creativity by brainstorming, drafting emails, presentations. Just an example from yesterday, I was looking for a quote, a motivational quote, and I just typed it right into ChatGPT, and I said, help me brainstorm. And the prompting is important. I said, here's the context, and I'm looking for motivational quotes on X, Y, and Z. And it was able to spit back some really interesting responses that if I had gone to Google and typed in the same thing, it would have required me to click through multiple different sites to find find something that worked. So much quicker time to value and output just by using the generative AI tools like ChatGPT or others. Mariby, in technology, you're a tech leader. You got to have some good examples. What are your examples?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. And there are developers here that probably is not going to like what my answer would be for this. But it helps me. I mean, I haven't been in development for a while. I don't code, haven't coded in a long time as a people leader here. But I do have sometimes go into the commits and look at what's committed from the dev team, and looking at the code. And of course, we're in a process of doing really a good code translation, so for attributes and or features. But I do check sometimes if the code commits, and I go to GPT and ask, is this the I put in the code and see if the results are really what the developers have committed there, and it's a good code. And yeah,
I
it
love it.
helps me. So
Note to the engineers on Mariby's team, she's spying on you using generative AI.
I mean, it's for my learning too. That's why I'm doing it. So yeah. Thank you, Vijay. So, second question, and how can you or I know we're doing this, but to the audience, how would you advocate the use of AI in the workplace?
Yeah, that's a good question, and there's really probably multiple parts to it. I think first and foremost is education and information, and I would recommend that you start by educating your colleagues and your leadership just about the potential benefits of AI through different workshops, maybe through presentations. Case studies always work really well, so find examples of how AI can help in your workplace that highlight successful AI implementations. I think it's also really important about the reference point that AI can help in terms of augmentation. It's not necessarily a replacement of jobs or people. It's to augment people's existing work life so they can be more productive and accelerate the work that they're already doing, just like what we were talking about. I'm a big fan as a guy who is a firm believer in pragmatic innovation and launching new ideas. I think pilot projects are a really great way to learn and experiment. And the way that you do it is you start small. Start with something small, like, hey, I've got a repetitive task in reporting that I do, and it requires this information. And I believe that GenAI can help me streamline my work. That's a small project that you can demonstrate to your leadership and your colleagues that there could be some real value on that case. But also with any experimentation or any pilot project, you got to focus on measurable results. So make sure that you set up your value metrics ahead of time, your KPIs, your OKRs, objectives and key results. So you can really demonstrate the overall ROI, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to advocate for anything in the business world, it's really good to focus just on the return on investment, and ultimately how it can save time or reduce cost, or drive new innovation and new growth. The other thing I like to do is I like to look at benchmarks. So you can benchmark some in terms of measuring. So you look at yourself and your own like time that it takes to do a task, but also benchmark externally. And then finally, on this point, I think you also need to just face head on into any ethical or privacy concerns and be proactive about discussing AI and how we can be responsible with our use of artificial intelligence.
Thank you. And yes, of course, for Experian, it's security first as our objective, as one of our core competency. There is with that is, you mentioned about ethical safety considerations of using Gen AI. I mean, what about besides work also, with anything that you're doing? I think that would be also, you would have to be the AI ethics are probably, key, right, DJ?
Oh no, absolutely. And at Experian, I mean, our culture, this is a primary focus for protecting consumer data, protecting our consumers, and ensuring safety and compliance in every single thing that we do. So first and foremost, it's understanding the regulations and how your AI implementation complies with local, national, and international regulations and standards, relevant to whatever industry that you're in. This includes data protection laws. It includes ethical guidelines. You're going to have maybe industry-specific safety standards that you need to review and understand ahead of time to make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to put yourself or your company or the consumer at risk. I think on that theme, we always like to do a proactive risk assessment. So you really look at the AI application, you identify ahead of time potential safety issues, and you try and focus on how you can mitigate risk before you deploy and go into production. So this is an assessment. We always, and Marivi, you know this, we've done this together. I think it's a case of saying up front, what are my requirements and how do I think about what the problems I'm going to solve? And then you sort of flip it and you can become an attacker. You become the bad guy, and you want to say, well, what are the risks here? How could this go wrong? So you play out this scenario a bit, and that helps you form your overall risk assessment. I think the third area is really about continuous monitoring. So artificial intelligence, and as you look at the broader AI ecosystem and the way that AI can learn, there's more and more of a need, especially when you're dealing with any sensitive information, for continuous monitoring and auditing. So it's absolutely critical that we have those systems in place, that we know what the AI is doing. So it's transparency in the execution of AI. And in our industry, it's about explainability, and it's a term that you'll hear, if you haven't heard it already, more and more from our regulators, because at the end of the day, we need to be able to explain the decisions that are being made by our technology and by artificial intelligence. So the way that we do that is by proactive monitoring, logging, and risk assessment.
Thank you. And earlier you mentioned that this is not necessarily replacing human, or, this is more an augment to what we're doing in our career right now. I mean, for some, I mean, I've come to terms in it, but others, how would you advise, how can they combat the fear of what they think AI would be doing in place of sort of, you know, their role or whatever they're doing in their career.
This is a really big topic, and it's one that we live every day, because there is this sense of AI is, and maybe it's we have too many sci-fi movies. I think there's this fear of AI is going to come and take our jobs, and then in the extreme, it's going to Terminator. It's going to
Yeah.
take over the world, and we've got to really be careful. But I think the reality is the way that you combat any fear is through open communication, discussion, and conversation. I mean, understand the source of fear. If it's job displacement or lack of control, you talk about that head on, and you emphasize that AI is a tool for augmenting human capabilities. It's not replacing them. Now, will there be cases where there is a displacement of job capabilities into more automation? Yes, there will be. But that actually just, if we encourage it head on, then it actually shifts the conversation into how can we do more? How can I, as worker A, B, or C, be able to do more in my job and learn more, and use these tools to facilitate more productivity? So I think that's one big category of how you combat fear. I think another a big category is going to be just around, and I talked a little bit about it, around the training and education. Everything in the AI world and in the tech world, anytime there's something new. I mean, if you go back for us old timers, I know, Mariva, you weren't around when the internet was first born. You're
Oh
much
no.
younger than I am.
Oh, come on, BJ. You don't know me. No.
So I remember when e-commerce first started
Yeah.
in the mobile phone, and there was a sense of fear. I mean, there was a legitimate sense of fear. And you go back to the early creation days of the internet, where people were afraid to transact online. So the idea of moving money online or purchasing things online, that was scary to a lot of
Yeah.
people. And now it's the de facto standard for everything that we do. And I think we're at that inflection point where we're in a bit of a fear cycle. And the way that you work through that is just broader education. You use success stories, you highlight where AI can help, and you focus on the positive side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have one example. I'll sidetrack here. I was in a company that has a big call center for healthcare. And during that time, RPA, robotic process automation is coming in, chatbots and all that. And we have a call center that, we're modernizing. And the fear of the call center analysts were really tremendous. Like they were like, they feel that they're going to lose their job. Well, what we did is we refocused them more to a real customer care or preventative care and things like that. And honestly, the NPS score went up. We retained those call center analysts, and we had automation that where the RPA can serve the patients faster. So I think there is so many different avenues what AI can do to help the company's efficiency and even customer experience, right? So there should not be a fear for that. So
No,
yeah.
absolutely right, and that's exactly what we're doing at Experian with our overall strategy. Is we know that we can gain productivity, but it's the conversations about how the tool can ultimately help people.
Yeah. And as helping people, as somebody who's in their career in whether it's technology or, like I said, in other like customer care type career, how do they think that they could advance their skills, especially when it comes to, AI? I think you said something about education and that, but any another insight or what what can you advise them?
I think this is one of those questions that it goes beyond AI, and I think it's about attitude, and how you approach any subject. I mean, I'm a firm believer in lifelong learning. You commit yourself to continuous learning and improvement. I know I take time. And if you look at some of the big thought leaders in society, Bill Gates, for example, they take time to to read and to educate themselves, and they set it as part of their schedule. And I know we're all just extraordinarily busy with our families and our children and work and all the things that are going on, but I like to just set time aside in my schedule, and I actually block a slot, which is to say I'm going to continue my education. And this is a good example of a subject where you can there's a ton of online courses, there's workshops, there's webinars, there's industry conferences. All of those are really good ways for people who are new to the topic to get up to speed and continue to make sure your skills are honed in and sharp. And I think it speaks well to the theme of Career Week and how we think about growth, and growth in STEM, because remember, anything to do with STEM, it moves fast. So if you're seeking a career in this space, or you're already in the space and want to look to move up the ladder and have bigger positions, you have to adopt the continuous learning philosophy and just focus on a culture, your own kind of attitude on that topic. Marie, the other thing I like to do is I always recommend that we do hands-on. So, get in there. I mean, OpenAI ChatGPT is available within our own corporate environment. You have to pass a couple training courses and then make a request for it. But even externally at home on your own PC, like you can use ChatGPT and you can play with it. Learn the basics of prompting and how to ask a question to a chatbot. I think that's a really good way. So practical exercise. I had mentioned small projects. That's another hands-on experience to continue to sharpen your skills and make sure that you're evolving and staying current. The other thing is, since we all learn in different ways, I'm a reader primarily, but I know people prefer the more direct, we'll say, networking or in person or verbal education approaches. So find professional networks and communities that you can connect with, and it's so easy. I know here in Orange County there's dozens of them, and I know, thank you to Chick Tech, I think it's another great network for collaboration and discussion around this. So find the communities that you can thrive in and you can learn from. And then I think, maybe the final point is how you think about cross-discipline. So how does AI work into your life, and how does it intersect into multiple fields or multiple areas that you are currently doing in your life? Because there's no faster way to stay current on a subject than to integrate the topic into your routines, into your regular operating rhythms. So could be anything from working on maybe a schedule for your kids' soccer practice, or something like that, where it's just hey, this is what I do on my regular routine, and I'm going to now use this automation. I'm going to now use AI a little bit to help me. That keeps your skills current and keeps you relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience last week, BJ. I went to the Bay Area. I belong to an incubation, outfit there, and everything AI. And I learned, okay, it's not just LLM. I learned small language model instead of large language model. So now I'm experimenting on that myself at home, because how do I create something that is really a low-hanging fruit for me to use of AI in my my grandkids' pickup schedule, actually. So,
No, and I've seen so many cases of people doing that, where I mean, so many parents these days are taxi drivers, and they've got all different extracurriculars as well as getting their kids to school.
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT to give you a hand. You just provide the information, and it can help you out.
That's great. No, thank you. And another one, and I know we have time for question for Q&A at the end of the chat. There's a few more things that I'd like to, especially there's different industries, especially audience from Chick Tech. I know we're in the financial industry. For our industry, what future changes do you anticipate because of Gen AI? I mean, I know we can cover and talk a lot more about the different industry, but specifically for us in an experience for, with our financial industry colleagues as well. So,
yeah, and I think if we look at, well, maybe I should start with just the kind of the general themes. So
yeah.
we know that generative AI can help in productivity through customer engagement. So think your chat bots and your interfaces. So that's a big topic right there. So just customer success, customer engagement. You think about all the touch points that your customer base will have with your company. With Experian, we have many different avenues there through our ECS and direct to consumer business, through our MCE, our call center. So there's these touch points where we can use generative AI and chat components to really help improve the experience for our customers. The next area is coding and coding generation. This is a really big one because, like, we spend a tremendous amount of time, as you know, Maria, we spend a tremendous amount of time developing new software and new code, and then we have to test it and validate it and write unit tests and pressure test it, and like all that kind of comes together. And there's a lot of stuff that we can do that is going to change the way that we operate, because generative AI will help automate that and help improve the overall quality of really what's happening in that space. I think another big industry shift is going to be this focus on we'll say virtual assistants that are trained with knowledge. So you've got the general customer success bots, and then you have the chatbots that are going to be just tuned right into knowledge base. And this becomes the augmentation play. So think about a consultant, or even you can say a call center agent who needs information and needs it quickly. And the current workflow for those people are to go out and do research, to search through a knowledge base and get answers to whatever the problem might be. Imagine a day when we're able to use an interface, ask the question, it searches into multiple knowledge bases and gives you a really accurate answer on it. So that's the augmentation play. So again, changing the way that we operate, changing the productivity, changing the output. And then the fourth area we can't overlook, because it's huge and it's a big topic, is content generation. Content generation is all over the place, and somebody who is in a lot of conversations externally and works very closely with our great marketing group. Like, you can use generative AI to not only create new content, but to augment content and to help streamline the way that some of that works. I know you look at the movie industry and some of the strike labor issues that they were having, and a big topic was about writers being concerned about generative AI impacting their livelihood. And I think that's something that we're going to see more and more. So if you think about those 4 areas of focus, so first is general customer success and how a chatbot integrates. Second is coding and code generation. Third is about knowledge base augmentation. And then fourth is content creation. You can apply that back to any number of industries.
Yeah.
Now, in the financial services world, I think there's a ton of areas that we're actively focused on. And you look at from everything from the simple, which is our software should use generative AI, and we'll use generative AI for search. So it's much easier for our customers to integrate, to automated creation, as you know, because we've been working on this together, automated creation of new analytics and new attributes to help in the lending process, to automated workflow. So think about a case where we can use AI, and we're able to do this now, just a bit of a selfish plug. We're able to do this now and in our internal environments, generate new workflow and strategies automatically using AI. So all of that comes together into this fairly sizable shift in the way that our customers operate and the way that our consumers interact, and will ultimately play out over the next the course of years, and it'll be a meaningful shift of what are people doing right now, how are customers interacting with businesses, and we'll see a dynamic shift to more automation and more integration through AI.
Now that's great. That, of course, VJ, analytics, attributes, feature creation, that we're selfishly very, very passionate about that. So looking forward to growing that. And I think we're at the 10:35 here, and we want to leave some QA. But one last thing, a piece of advice from you to the Chick Tech attendees who are first starting their career or going into a tech career, STEM. Or even for us who's been in the industry, what advice can you give them, and not to hesitate about integrating Gen AI into their work, or how unsure would they be? I mean, just give sort of piece of advice there as like how you did it for yourself when this first started.
Well, one of the things that I really enjoy as part of my career and my life at Experian is I get a chance to work with people at all levels in their career, and I've mentored many people over the years, and I think it's first and foremost it's don't fear the unknown. Jump right in. But with that said, start small and look at maybe a specific task, like I mentioned, where GenAI can provide some immediate value. So, roll your sleeves up and get dirty and identify something small where you can iterate and learn. Make sure that you educate yourself on the capabilities and limitations, and really always consider, of course, the ethical implications of the application. And then I think most importantly, view GenAI as a tool to augment your skills, not just replace them. So we are focused on career week and growth for individuals, and my belief is that generative AI can significantly augment everyone's skill. Everyone, I mean, mine, and you can be Elon Musk, and the reality is that this tool can help in any way. The smartest people in the world can help this, or people who are just entering into the workforce. I think there's just so much potential there if we frame it the right way in terms of value.
That's great. Thank you. I haven't, Irene, I think we have some, you're monitoring the chat. Are there questions from the audience, comments, or something that, what more insight that we can get from VJ from the questions here in the chat?
There's one that caught my eyes from Samrin Amir. For the Experian tools we have, do we have something that can be used to generate images, design for slides, decks, and etc.?
I actually missed the last part of the question. Was it about image generation?
Yeah, for like PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, there's a few different tools available, and I think what we'll need to do is probably direct that question back. We can take it as a follow-up because I don't know the full approved list off the top of my head, but I know that there are a few tools that are available.
Great. Okay. What more? I think I know there's comments here that they've used it for recipes. So, but that's a comment. Let's see, I'm going through the chat here, Irene. Anything else that you caught your eye? There's quite a bit of comments.
Yeah, there was like a conversation happening, which is very helpful for everyone here. But folks, feel free to drop your questions here in the chat box.
Okay, well, people are thinking about questions. There are a lot of comments like GenAI doesn't automate jobs, it automates tasks. That I think is really a good
Well
point
said.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way that's said because it's 1,000% true.
Oh, there's the question for you, VJ. Personally, what are you most excited about in terms of Gen AI? I think you're excited a lot all the time. Anyway, you're Chief Innovation Officer, so yeah.
I get too excited. It's hard to narrow it down to one thing. I am most excited about. I think it's hard for me to lock into one, but I would say the potential for broader shifting, so disruptive change, is the theme that I get most excited about. And I truly believe that when we look at artificial intelligence, and it's not just generative artificial intelligence, um, there is a massive opportunity for broad scale industry disruption using the technology. That's going to affect how we think about the problems that we solve and the benefits that we can deliver to our customers. And that gets me really excited. And we've highlighted a few of the ideas, but just being able to proactively create a new set of analysis or parse through a larger amount of data or um, find fraud signals within a big set of data assets that we haven't discovered. Those are really meaningful, and they excite me. And I think everything that we've talked about here is disruptive and has the potential to really impact the industry. So it was I just gave a bit of a dance around the one specific response, but it is such a big question that in general I'm just overall excited about the disruptive change.
Yeah, I think for Experian, especially in the engineering side, we've been doing hackathon for a while, and I think up to the last 2 quarters of hackathon was focused on a code and what Gen AI, you know, technology was used and things like that. But that excites me because I think I've seen the entries on those hackathon, and we've seen quite a bit of traction on that. So that's exciting that I knew that the fear of the engineers or the developers are not there. They're going to use it as a tool for them to be, more leveraging it really as an augment to their skill set, right? So that's really great. So I think there's more. I know we were there's another careers week session right after us, so I'm conscious of time here. Anything else there at the chat, Irene?
I like the comment about recipes. I'm always looking for new recipes, so I think
Yeah.
that's a good one.
There's
Okay.
nothing that caught my eye.
Okay, well, again, this Careers Week, this is recorded, and if there's anything that you want to ping us, or there, love to know your thoughts. There's one more. on balancing from Ryan, utilizing Gen AI and learning a topic very deeply. So that means, I know this so well, I know it from memory. So what are your thoughts on that, on balancing the deep learning topics, I guess is what I call it.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, Ryan. I think when we become experts in any subject, we sometimes we sometimes end up with blinders on. And my belief is that the ability to access more information on a topic can help us see other aspects that maybe we haven't seen before. And I think there's a lot of data to support that argument that when you become so ingrained and so detailed, and you are maybe considered in your company or in the industry a true expert on this, you have a tendency, and it's human nature to stop looking beyond your boundaries and your knowledge set. And my view is that that Gen AI and some of the work that's going on can help open our eyes to other aspects. It can also help just help you with education of others. So once you're a thought leader and once you're an expert, how you actually distribute that information and wealth among your peers and others is can become maybe a little tedious to you, because you're the expert, you know so much about a field, and then someone's asking you an entry-level question. I've seen this many times over my career where I've mentored people who are like, why are they asking me such a simple question? Well, this actually can help with that as well. So I think there's a few benefits, but I would say the angle of keeping your eyes open to blind spots is probably a good area of focus on that one.
That's great. So, VJ, again, thank you so much. This is so insightful. And of course, looking forward, excited. I might follow you around the building and keep asking you questions when I see you at the office. But anyway, I do thank Czech Tech. Thank you again to the STEM committee leaders, Irene, Christine, for putting this through. Elena from Careers Week, we appreciate this. Again, please use the following link. I think Irene's going to post it here for feedback for Global Careers Week. And if you love this session, we want you to share your learning experience as well. So thank you so much, VJ. Thank you to all the attendees. Wow, I've seen up to 280 in the attendee here. So this is one of the biggest webinar fireside chat that I've facilitated. So VJ, it must be your promotion there with your name. So,
so all you, Mariti. All you.
All right. Well, thank you all, and have a good rest of the Thursday and Friday.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Marivi and VJ.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.